So with my next character that I'm making, I was thinking about multiclassing. Uh, I don't know
Oh,
what
yeah,
do you
that's
think
really
about that.
exciting. I multi-classed in college a lot.
Oh yeah. Um, what'd you do? Like fighter barbarian?
No, no, nothing like that. I just like in you ever watch Harry Potter where Hermione was able to take two classes at the same time? Like she had the time turner, so you know, that's how you multi-class, right?
We're talking about like classes in like Dungeons and Dragons, right? Like like a
I
rogue
don't think they
ranger.
offered that in the curriculum, but I think Jim Davis from WebDM might. I think he has a master's degree actually in that. Maybe he
In
knows how to
D&D.
multi-class.
This is J&J Tabletop. Today we're talking about multiclassing in Dungeons and Dragons.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Jake from JNJtabletop, and with me, as always, is my good friend Josh from JNJtabletop, also known as Joshua Tabletop to some. So, yeah, we're talking about multiclassing today, and it's the kind of thing that is actually technically optional, like feats. I think a lot of players just assume, yeah, if you want to multiclass, you just multiclass. I can't think of a game actually that hasn't allowed that if a player really wanted it, but nonetheless, check with your DM. But yeah, the rules for how multiclassing works are found in Chapter 6 of the Player's Handbook, and there's a section on there. It's got actually feats and multiclassing in that chapter called Customization Options. So, Josh, why don't you get us started? Let us know a little bit about how this works before we go into like maybe why someone would, why someone wouldn't, and some fun topics and thoughts on multiclassing.
Basically, the way multiclassing works is, say I'm starting off, I am a level 1 fighter. When I hit level 2, as my character level, I have the option to either take level 2 fighter or decide to take a different class. And if I took a different class, I would start off at first level, even if I was a 15th level fighter. If I decided to take a level in Bard, I would be a 15th level fighter and a first level Bard, and my overall character level would be 16. So you can't just do that. Well, you can, but at the same time, there's a little bit of prerequisites that you need. All that is an ability score minimum. So there's a neat little chart in Chapter 6 that just gives you the class and the minimum that you need for it. So for Barbarian, you need a minimum of 13 in your strength. For a Rogue, you need 13 in Dex. Pretty much, you need a 13 in the main ability score for that class. As far as hit points, basically you gain the hit points from your new class as described for levels after first.
Like in your example, you would start out with 10 as a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
But a bard that gets an 8, you wouldn't start out with 8. You'd have to roll or however your game is using that
Yeah,
setup.
basically you would use whatever the hit dice is and whatever it is for after level 1. That's what you would have. And then hit dice as well. If I am a level 1 fighter and a level 1 bard, level 2 overall character. So we'll have a D10 and a D8 hit die. The other thing that I would mention for multiclassing and something just to be wary of is your proficiency bonus. Your proficiency bonus is based off of your total character level. It is not based off of how many levels you are in a certain class. So if you're a first level character, you have a proficiency bonus of 2. If you are a fighter and a bard, and as that fighter and as that bard, you gain a proficiency in, let's say, longswords just for fun, you still just have a +2 for that proficiency. You do not then say, okay, well, I get +2 for being proficient as a fighter, and then I get +2 for being proficient as a bard, and now I have a +4 at second level. No, that's not how that works. It's based on your total character level.
I mean, every class table has the plus column for the proficiency, so I could see someone looking at that and going, oh yeah, just add that together, just like everything else.
Now the next part, I would say this is where multiclassing gets a little bit complicated, and this is really Jake's forte, and that would be in kind of like the spell casting for multiclassing for casting classes. So, tell us a little bit more about that, Jake?
Sure. On the surface, if you're trying to figure out your spell slots, it could get really, really muddy if you're not sure. So, spell slots is probably the most important thing to make sure you have down. If you have the Pact Magic feature from being a warlock and the spellcasting feature, and that's maybe just from one source, you're just going to add those together. So if you have like 2 level 2 spell slots for being a warlock and like 4 level 1s and 2 level 2s for being like a wizard or whatever, a sorcerer, then you have 4 level 1s as a wizard, 2 level 2s as a wizard that recharge on a long rest, and your 2 as a warlock recharge on a short rest. That's basically with Pact Magic, you just add that on top of what you have. Now it gets a little even more complex. So your primary spellcasting classes, your Bard, Druid, Cleric, Wizard, Sorcerer, you just add the total levels in all of those classes combined, and then you look at the chart that's in Chapter 6 of the Player's Handbook. Say you're a Bard, Sorcerer, and you have 3 levels of Bard and 3 levels of Sorcerer, you would be considered a level 6 spellcaster. And you would have 4 first levels, 3 second levels, and 3 third levels. Just that's how that goes. Now, if you're going to add what are considered secondary casters, which is the Artificer, your Paladin, your Ranger, you're going to take half of your levels and add that. So if you were a level 4 Paladin and a level 6 Sorcerer, that would be 6 for being a Sorcerer, and then 4 divided by 2 is 2. And so you would be technically an 8th level spellcaster in that situation. Now, to make things even more fun, your tertiary spellcasting classes are like your Eldritch Knight and your Arcane Trickster. You divide by 3. Each particular section of whatever classes you're looking at actually will outline this a little bit better for you. And as far as they also have that written here in Chapter 6 of the Player's Handbook, which explains everything I just explained. But as far as spells known and prepared, like if you're mixing those kinds of things together, again, that's right here. But the easy version of that is if you can prepare 3 spells as a wizard, you do that. And if you could prepare 4 spells as a cleric, you do that. And those are your spells prepared for the day. It's also kind of interesting because you can use spell slots from any class to cast other classes' spells, which can get kind of crazy. However, just pour over that section of the Player's Handbook if you're really interested in going there.
Easy piece.
Yeah, not hard at all.
I do that is the one thing I do love about multiclassing as like a spellcaster, is that what you just said, where you can use whatever spell slot for any classes. If you're a sorcerer, bard, wizard, you could use that wizard spell slot for a bard spell. I like that.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting, and I think it's one of the most attractive features about dipping into Warlock a little bit, because their spell slots, even though they don't get a lot of them, they do recharge on a short rest. So there's a lot of fun combos, which we might get into either here or maybe in a part 2.
Yes.
If I were to ask you, what are some of the top reasons to multiclass? What comes to mind?
For me, and I think there are some other reasons too, but the 2 that really stand out in my mind are you're trying to optimize, whether it's get the most damage or get the highest AC or spells recharge on the short rests. And the other one would be like a story reason. So maybe your character started off as a rogue, right? And then you start getting into some holy stuff. You said some words to save your sister. Now, you decided to take some levels in Paladin because you are a Paladin of, I don't know, let's say the Raven Queen. This story reason. Realistically, a rogue Paladin to most people, that's kind of like, oh, huh? I would obviously that was done for story reasons, right? Like your character was going along a path, and even though maybe when you were creating that character, you thought like, I'm going to be a rogue until level 20, I'm going to go all the way. Maybe that's what you were thinking, but when you started playing that character, you're playing the campaign, it started going a certain way. You're like, all right, well, maybe he should take a level in monk. Maybe she should take a level in bard. Like I don't know. It's just you joined a college that was your new. You did the academy group patron from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Those are the two main reasons for me. It's trying to hit a specific goal, whether that's damage optimization or armor class or whatever, or just trying to tell a story or follow the story.
I definitely think, especially when we talk about some of the nice combos, are really gonna be pretty power gamey. Like we're really just looking at how can you just make some really amazing hero moments, or like just crazy ideas with mechanics that you can combine. So like power gaming is definitely one reason to do it. And I agree. I think story-driven multiclassing can be a lot of fun. And I think Vax was one of a really cool story in that, because even beforehand, I would guess that Liam O'Brien and Matt Mercer talked about it beforehand, because I think if I remember correctly, his character was already showing some interest in Pike and some religious things, so it just kind of made sense. And then he took his Vengeance Paladin, which was like a cool way to add to the rogue. It would be a little odd, I think, if he went like Devotion Paladin or like Redemption. Well, maybe not. Again, whatever story you're telling, you can have fun with. But some of the other reasons, like I was just even thinking, like, what if you just want to make a weird character? Like if like you just two things that don't mesh at all, like a druid and like, I don't know, a warlock or a sorcerer, or like, I don't know, something just strange, like something that wears tons of metal, like a fighter, like
or like a druid and a bard. Seems like it doesn't work. I've never met a druid with a high charisma.
No, they don't bathe enough for that. But yeah, so if you want to just have like a very unique character, or even like if they're just, you're looking at you're envisioning the character you want to play, and one class just doesn't cover all of it, and there's just a couple things you want to combine for whatever the reason. Those are the reasons I think that would be strong for multiclassing.
So one other reason, and I think I'm just going to ask you about this, because this is definitely more you think. I stick to the two where I mentioned, where I'm either trying to power game or trying to tell a cool story or follow the story. And maybe this is along the lines of to be weird, but what are you doing with Vale, your character for Urge Off Roleplay? Like, what are your goals for him, and why?
So, okay, this is actually call it an age-old discussion you and I have had. Like I've always looked at paladins are like a fighter cleric combo. Rangers are kind of like a fighter druid combo, and the Eldritch Knight is what they made for the fighter to have like a fighter wizard combo. And I had always said, like, I don't get why those get to be secondary casters and the Eldritch Knight is a tertiary caster. Granted, they get cantrips when the secondaries don't, but now with Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, everything's just mixing together with different stuff. But I envisioned Vale as someone who is going to be an archer, primarily. It's going to be the primary way he's going to interact in combat, but he's very curious, he's very intelligent, and I naturally wanted to have magic there, so I went Eldritch Knight. Didn't go Arcane Archer because I don't like that subclass. Anyways, when I was thinking about Vale, I kept like looking at the level chart, and I kept thinking like, okay, there's a lot of things that I could do here, but nothing seemed to fit. And so I definitely have plans to multiclass Vale. I'm not going to get into exactly what those plans are, but I think I came up with a creative way to kind of make, I guess that the term is a gish, that's not It's like a different path to get there. And I just was looking at it and I was like, this is gonna scratch my power game itch, my storytelling itch, and my like I kind of want to be weird itch. So it kind of all of those kind of merged, and the things that we've talked about, I'm like really excited to see how it all plays out. But yeah, so there are definitely plenty of reasons to multiclass, but there's also some big ones not to multiclass. And I think the first one right off the bat is just keep it simple. Play the one class and you don't have to think about. I mean, maybe that's not the greatest plug for this video, but if you're not looking to complicate things and you want to just kind of just work with what's in front of you, sticking with your one class is more than fine. In fact, you're going to have a lot of really good direction with who that character is. So there's nothing wrong with that. What do you think, Josh? Why wouldn't you want a multi-class?
I think another reason why you wouldn't want a multi-class is if you're the type of person, I don't want to say if you're not patient, but with multi-classing, we'll say it takes a little bit for your builds to be fully realized. So there's definitely going to be a point where the other players in your party are probably going to be outshining you. They're going to be doing better than you. And that's just because like they're getting all of their new cool and or improved class features, and you're getting like first level class features. But there is a point where your goal will like finally be realized. You'll be able to get that crazy wombo combo that you've been looking for. And when you have that, it's going to be awesome. But if the journey getting there is going to frustrate you, probably don't waste your time. You know, save that character for the one shot where you just start at level 10 or something like that.
That's really good advice. It's like, oh, I'm already level 12? Cool. That's a really good point. Like, I feel like particularly whether you want to make sure if you're a martial character and you have extra attack, or you're a spellcaster and you don't want to fall behind, like, yeah, your spell slots will be where they should be, but you're not going to have access. Like, I think one of the examples I had, like, if you're a level 10 character, but you're like 5 bard, 5 sorcerer, you have spell slots like a level 10 caster, but you only have up to 3rd level spells for both of those classes. So you're going to have spell slots that are bigger than your spells. So the only way to use them will be to upcast. And that could be frustrating. You know, I could definitely see that being something you wanted to avoid. And then if you primarily, like, if you prioritize storytelling and there's just no like in-game reason for your character to multi-class, then don't. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Going back to Paladin, that's like the taking a random level in Paladin because you want like the smites or whatever. That's like, why does your ranger, who's just been off in this guild doing this thing and never had any sort of conviction or whatever, he just values freedom, why has he suddenly decided to take up an oath? You're like, oh, he hasn't. He just, he's the paladin now.
Just thought it would be cool. Like, yeah. I mean, you do you. I mean, your game is your game, but
yeah,
you know, that really can break immersion for a lot of people. So I could just imagine someone like Izzy would just be like, her D&D mind would break. She would go, no, I'm not. No, there's no reason my character would do that.
Mm-hmm. And that's how we ended up with a barbarian paladin, which is
true.
Not an optimized build by any means, but it's an interesting one. And we saw there was a lot of interesting moments because of that. And it happened for story reasons. So it was cool.
Yeah, I think I would argue about that. I mean, anytime you can add smites, I mean, Barbarian to me is one of those classes that after level 3, level 5, you really need to know why you're there, like from a power game perspective. That's just the way I see it. But
that's fair.
But you could have there's 100 different ways you can make characters, and this is one way to really just take weird paths, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
But you mentioned enjoying the journey, you know, just like the Death Star being built. Like you're not going to be fully armed and operational maybe until you hit level 10, 12. Mm-hmm. Like if you're seeing features from different classes that are like at level 7 and 2 of them, you're looking at level 14 before you're fully able to enjoy the plan you've put together. That's something that can be frustrating. But when I was looking at Vale, I'll just take this example. I was looking at him as an Eldritch Knight, and after level 11, when fighters get that third attack because of extra attack, for me, as I was looking at it, I was like, okay, the next attack comes online at level 20, which is 9 levels away, and Action Surge, to get 2 uses of it, comes in at level 17. And I just was thinking, you know what? I might enjoy some other things along that path. So in this case, multiclassing actually would make me enjoy the journey more. So it's all relative to the situation you're in, because a battle master might look at that completely different than an Eldritch Knight would. You know what I mean? And that's even the same class. So you really need to kind of just take each situation and goal and just see what might work best for you.
And you should enjoy the journey. And sometimes even when you're sticking with one subclass and one class, it's still not going to be like, you might have goals and you won't reach those goals until you hit a certain level. As Jake mentioned before, and the age-old saying says, the Death Star was not built in a day. So when I was playing Marcus, he was a halberd-wielding polearm master fighter, battle master.
Yeah, he's a beast.
I mean, he was insane when that build got realized. First couple levels, like, he was okay. He was just kind of like your average fighter. And it was like, whatever, some cool moments here and there. But once you get to that point where you're like, now I have Sentinel, now I have Polearm Master, I did the not meta thing and did mobile, which I would advise anyone to do who's going for that build, because it should be the meta. But once you have all those things, suddenly you're like, oh, yeah, this is what I've been waiting for. My character is incredible, and watch what I could do. And people just watch the chaos, and they're like, holy crap, this is what you've been excited about this whole time. And that's kind of like multiclassing.
I was to give someone advice. If you're able to somehow plan, maybe with your DM, as to when a story-driven element might make sense, if you can make sure the first part of your build comes online, you're going to enjoy that journey to the second part of your build a lot more. So, like, I'm not going to give things away, but, like, Vale is a level 4 character at the moment, so I'm going to want to hit that extra attack, and spoiler alert, the next time he takes a feat, he wants Sharpshooter so he can really ramp up that damage nice and nasty. But, at that point forward, sure, more levels of fighter are great, but I might be considering, depending on what happens with the story, I might be considering starting my multiclass then. We'll see what happens. I think that would be the one part of advice that I would give, because I think that will help you enjoy that journey a little better, I think, before the Death Star is fully armed and operational, like we said before.
Yeah, but once you hit that moment, you'll just be destroying planets, just millions of life forms all crying out at once and then being silenced.
Dunzo. Mm-hmm. You're done.
Hello, everyone. This end screen is going to be a little bit different than most of our end screens, but stick around. Hey, Skelly, this is for you. We appreciate you. He's one of our viewers, and we wanted to do something because you're DMing your first game, talking about all these crazy magic items that you found on the internet. Some of them are broken, some of them are not so broken. Well, me and Jake thought, hey, maybe you could use a DMG. So we got you a code for one on D&D Beyond. We've been saying, like, for every giveaway we've done so far, Jake and I have privately said, I really hope Skelly wins this, and you haven't yet.
Yeah, I actually told him one time, I was like, I'm actively rooting for you to win this.
Yeah.
But it didn't work out.
So we figured, hey, let's just give it to him. But here's the thing. We're not going to tell you, except for at the end of this video. I don't think the codes expire. So
God, I hope not. So we should just do the transaction. Yeah.
But we have a D&D Beyond code for the Dungeon Master's Guide.
Yeah.
And watch this video, send me or Jake a message, or J&J a message. Jake has the code, and we'll give you your DMG if you send it. If you are a friend of Skelly's, feel free to let him know. You could let him know. Congratulate him in the comments too. And hey, here's the thing: if you're one of our friends, and like we'll say, it feels weird to call Skelly a fan, but if you hang out a lot and you ask us a lot of questions, we get just as excited as you get about the game. So who knows? Maybe this will happen again. I don't know, but
my heart completely melted when he said in Twitch chat during our Rare Drop roleplay something along the effects of like the lies video inspired him to actually take his first steps and be a DM. So
yeah.
And you're doing it without a net. You don't even have a DMG. That's why we had to fix that. Okay? We love you, Skelly.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And just congratulate Skelly in the comments. Hopefully he sees this on Wednesday. But if not, who knows? Merry Christmas, my friends.